Ladies and gentlemen, this is the last part of the podcast. We have the final two episodes of The Last Dance. I think, in general, this was a really great documentary, to say the least. It was definitely really nice to actually watch basketball in any kind of capacity, but just to see the whole life story of LeBron James was, or not LeBron James, Jesus.
Wow.
It's your jersey,
Fake
Sam.
fan
I
alert.
blame
Fake
your
fan alert.
jersey. I blame your jersey.
Real goat.
Get out. Matt isn't a real fan.
The life story of Michael Jordan, the GOAT, the definite GOAT of basketball, was a lot of fun to watch. And not just watching Michael Jordan in general, but just like watching the style of 90s basketball was very interesting. It was a lot more defensive heavy, a lot more, I guess, skill wise, not too much shooting, 3-point shots as we see nowadays, but everything is very different from how it was back then, which is just very interesting to watch. But going into it, John, what are your just overall thoughts of the documentary?
Yeah, I think like it's I had a great time watching it. It was one of the things I looked forward to every week, and it succeeded above all else at being a really powerful piece of Michael Jordan propaganda. And I had a great time watching all of it.
That's fair. In your opinion, does this solidify? Do you think the last two episodes really kind of solidified Michael Jordan as the GOAT?
I mean, I don't know how many people's minds are going to be changed by it. I think that I already kind of just think that he is. I have a feeling, though, that some of the little bit of the backlash that we're hearing from like Horace Grant and Scottie Pippen might put a damper on things. But
A little bit.
yeah, I don't know. I think that I think that he did stuff that no one's ever done, and certainly not things that LeBron has accomplished in his career. And I would say that, yeah, I think that MJ's, I think he's the GOAT.
Yeah, 100%. I'm still waiting on LeBron James to purposely give himself the flu so that he can try and win that. Kevin, why don't you give us your thoughts?
I agree with John in a lot of what he said. Like, I look forward to it every week, even though it was glorified Jordan propaganda to some extent. But yeah, I still enjoyed the hell out of it. I still liked it a lot. My one beef, they did Tony Kukoc dirty, dude. They had a whole episode about Steve Kerr and his hard times and how he struggled and he went through a bunch of stuff and then he was okay on the Bulls. And you talk about Tony Kukoc for 5 minutes? The man is in a war-torn country and comes to the Bulls. First off, Pippen and Jordan just roast him the first time they meet him. And then he still comes to the Bulls, makes game-winning shot after game-winning shot after game-winning shot. Who does Phil Jackson go to every game in the last 2 seconds to throw the ball into the basket? Tony Kukoc, no one else. And you focus on him for 5 minutes? I'm heated.
Ladies and gentlemen, I was not expecting that much. You got Tony Kukoc, but I'm all for it. I love that. Kevin, I'm going to give you the same question that I gave John. Do you think the last two episodes solidified Michael Jordan's overall GOAT status?
I think they just more emphasized it than solidified it. I don't think... I agree with John. I don't think many people's minds are going to change based off what they saw. I think if you thought he was the GOAT before, you're definitely thinking he's the GOAT now. And if you didn't think he was the GOAT before, you might consider it, but I don't think your mind's going to change.
Yeah. Sam, you said some pretty questionable things on the last episode about Michael Jordan. I'm gonna ask if you're gonna redact what you said.
I can say this. I have some partial redacting to do, just because based off those last two episodes. I think this was phenomenally done. And I think, just at least for me, and I think it maybe speak for a lot of us, and of us grew up watching Jordan. We saw the highlight, but we never actually watched the game. We never felt the way, I don't know where they got those camera angles from, because phenomenal where they found it.
So cool.
Yeah, they had like the B-roll like in the crowd, like very up on like full aquarium. And I was like, wow, where did they get this technology? Like, I mean, obviously it was probably there, but who knew how to utilize it appropriately? So I guess to answer your initial question, is it a GOAT? I think for me, those last few episodes really did solidify him as the greatest NBA player of all time. All right. Yes, I got my asterisk. I got my Jordan asterisk over here. I think he's the greatest NBA player of all time, just purely on just count the rings he got. Right. Not one, not two, not three, not four, not five, 6 rings. All right. But I think, unless when we say it now, I can say it later. But I still think, based off the jersey I'm wearing, when it comes to building an ultimate player, I want to build it around LeBron James. The guy I want to play with is LeBron James because I think he has a better way to utilize it. I don't want to be the fanboy and just ruin this whole Last Dance documentary, but the impression I got was from MJ was that it's like, are you in it or you're out? Like, you want to win with me? Let's go. Otherwise, sit on the bench, do whatever you want at that point. LeBron is, I need to win this. I'm going to make you good. Just stay in the corner and at least get some threes from me. However, when it comes to just being the greatest NBA player of all time, I think MJ solidified that.
Yeah. Last episode, John, we had a discussion basically saying, LeBron, it was a simple discussion, LeBron James versus Michael Jordan. I will say that before the documentary, I was on Sam's side saying that LeBron James is definitely the best player. But throughout the documentary, like I said, we didn't grow up watching Michael Jordan. We grew up watching, Kobe Bryant. We grew up watching LeBron James. And it's hard to kind of put the two together when you grow up watching these guys play because it's a whole different style now than it ever was in the 90s. And Michael Jordan is, in my opinion, is definitely the best player to play basketball. However, I do think right now, as it stands, LeBron James is definitely the GOAT in the current NBA season. In the current NBA, I think Michael Jordan is the best to ever play, but I think right now definitely is LeBron James. John, why don't you weigh in on the whole LeBron James, Michael Jordan discussion as a whole?
Sure, I'll be brief. I don't have a ton to add, though. I do want to say, LeBron was watching this documentary too, and we happen to be coming up on an NBA playoffs in the season where he has already been particularly inspired. So I think that we could potentially see something that really changes people's minds in the coming season, or it's going to be like a lot of people giving him an asterisk on a title because of the fucked up season, which is stupid. But here's the thing. I think that Michael Jordan's the best of all time. I think he's like a shitty person, and I think that if you think LeBron is the best of all time, I don't think that you're. I think that there's a better case for that than literally anyone else. You can look at his numbers. You can literally just watch him play. He would have been. He could have been the best player in any single era of basketball. Because he's 6'9", 250-pound fucking freak who can do pretty much anything now. He's constantly evolving his game. He's a point guard this year in year 18. So I don't know. I still think it's Michael. I just think that I don't think the gap is wide enough for the debate to be so controversial.
That's fair. All right. Fair enough. I just wanted to get that over with. We're going to go more into the Last Dance in general. Pizzagate, boys. The biggest thing about the last 2 episodes was definitely the flu game. One of the most monumental and incredible games that Michael Jordan has played. Now, Sam, do you think that, first off, how much did you love that flu game?
Phenomenal. Like I said, I think that moment was like, okay, yeah, this guy's actually sick. He doesn't even want to drink the Gatorade, which he needs. And he's showing up. I'm pretty sure they said he's supposed to be scheduled to play 18 to 19 minutes, yet he played 38 or something.
Yeah.
That's unreal. I thought it was genuinely that's what it meant to be a real NBA player. He really played through every obstacle possible.
Yeah, absolutely. Kevin, there was slight talk about how some Chicago writers came out on Twitter and just said, like, huge over exaggeration, which you're going to get with Michael Jordan no matter what. But what do you think about the whole idea that Michael Jordan was actually like that pizza was actually like legitimately poisoned? Like, what do you think about that?
I think that's dumb a little bit. Like when I first heard them talking about that, I was like, really? Like you're gonna pretend that it's this big conspiracy that someone like secretly wanted to poison Jordan? Like I don't know. I think that's stupid.
Seems like a
And I
fluff.
would not. Yeah, exactly. Like another piece of the Jordan mythology that you can cling on to, sure, whatever. But at the end of the day, I don't care what you say was the cause of it. We saw that Michael Jordan was sick. Like you could physically see it.
Yeah.
And he missed the shoot around before. So regardless of how it happened, and he still comes out, puts up 40 plus points, and plays for 90% of the game, basically.
It was incredible.
It's still, regardless, a testament to Jordan's greatness.
Absolutely. And John, I'm going to throw the same question to you just because it's kind of funny at this point.
Yeah, I think it's a really weird lie because like Kevin said, like everyone saw the game, so we know he was sick, and like basically, if any of us were in that moment, we would not have been able to pull that out. Like,
yeah,
he was legitimately sick, and that's a great, like, really cool story as the flu game, and I don't know why he felt the need to make this up, because even if he believes it's true, it's so improbable and ridiculous that
Exactly.
it's just like, why do it? why do this, Mike?
Yeah, it's just the whole solidifying Michael Jordan mythology.
I do have one point to make. I was listening to the Ringer podcast recently, and someone was discussing how it might have been a self-poisoning. There was a rumor that he got the pizza. He didn't want anyone else to eat it, so he spit on the pizza. And they're saying that, we all know that Michael Jordan was notorious for smoking a lot of cigars, and that might have been a tobacco poisoning. So he spit all his tobacco juice basically on the pizza, and he might have ate it.
I think that's a pretty good theory.
That seems more realistic.
Hysterical.
Like,
yeah.
I don't think anyone wants to kill Michael Jordan, right? That's not the point. We don't want to kill Michael Jordan, and no one wants to play with any kind of medicine like that. But I could see like Jordan just being like, just smoking, and he's like, "Yo, this is mine," just like spits on it real quick.
Mm-hmm.
If that's true, that's the funniest theory I have ever heard of. My God. And the worst part about that is that's more logical than somebody actually poisoning his pizza. Oh my God, that was an incredible game, guys. I like you guys said, it really does solidify how great Michael Jordan was, because I don't know a single person that would be able to play in that kind of situation. It was absolutely wonderful. Moving on. Do you think the Bulls would still win 8 straight without Jordan retiring, John?
No, I don't, because I don't think that that's possible. I think we saw it. He said himself he was exhausted when he walked away, so I don't think that. It's hard enough to do a three-peat. That's why there's so few of them. Because you just get tired. You're playing a lot of basketball pretty much year round. And so I think that him leaving was like the best thing that happened to the Bulls, because I think that was like the time he needed to just like get right and get ready for like another round of winning championships. Like I don't think they could have won 8 straight.
Yeah, I would have to agree with you on that. There's just got to be some kind of like the mythology of Michael Jordan. And I really like that you used that word, Kevin, because it's very, very true. The mythology of Michael Jordan is essentially that he is just a machine. He's just this unstoppable force. But even though you are the best player to play the game, it's just like there is going to be a toll on you. We're all human. Something's going to happen no matter what. And especially just like that mental mindset, right? Like you're winning all of these titles constantly, and then it just gets. I feel like it would just get to the point where like, now what? Like we did this, like we did this incredible thing. Now what? There's got to be a point. Kevin, I'm going to just simply pass it back to you. Do you agree with John?
I agree that they wouldn't have won 8 straight without that bit like kind of break. But I think, nevertheless, I think they could have run it back if they didn't get broken up in '98. I think they could have gone 4 straight after their retirement, because I think in '98 they were in. Yeah, it was the last dance, and that was kind of the like motivation for them to do really well and everything like that. But I think if they somehow stayed together for some reason, at least most of the team, I think they could have ran it back for at least a 4-peat and had that other part of their mythos along with it. But I mean, we'll never know. And that's kind of the cool part about it, honestly, is we know it we know it as it is and what it could have been, but it'll never be that. And that's okay. That makes it cooler, I guess.
Yeah. No, I totally get that. Sam, are you on the same page?
I think very good points, but I think we still can't doubt the potential that team had to winning 8 straight. Michael never left. Horace Grant would never left, who played phenomenal for that roster. They probably could have picked up Rodman a little earlier, knowing if they knew ahead of time, that Jordan was going to leave. Maybe they just needed more firepower to take off some of the load. I definitely agree that there is a huge toll. I think, especially, going back to back to back. But I think in terms of potential, this team had it. They really did. Because even so, they played the Houston Rockets twice. They defeated some of the greatest teams ever assembled. That have never won a title still at this point. That Utah Jazz team, as we'll talk later, back-to-back times, they still lost it.
Yeah, definitely, 100%. That team was just absolutely wild, and Michael Jordan just made it even better. I want to talk really quickly, since you mentioned Horace Grant, Sam. A lot of things have been coming up after the podcast has been done, essentially from Horace Grant and Scottie Pippen. So they are both, I guess, a little understandably so, very, very angry about how they were portrayed in the documentary. Kevin, do you think that they have a leg to stand on?
Oh, I think a little bit, especially Horace Grant. I feel like the documentary kind of was like, oh yeah, everyone kind of thought it was Horace Grant. And then they had one clip of Horace Grant being like, nah, that's bullshit. And then that was it. There was no counter argument or anything like that. They were just like, okay, Horace, what do you think about this bad rumor about you? And he's like, I don't like it. And they're like, okay, cool. Anyway. So I can understand why Horace Grant's a little annoyed. And same with Scottie. They kind of made Scottie out to be the bitch of the team a little bit. He was standing up for himself and putting the team at risk. And yes, he did not play in that critical moment when his entire team was like, what the fuck? How can you do this to us? And that's not okay, but there's also a lot of other good parts about Scottie Pippen that I feel like the doc didn't emphasize as much. They wanted the drama, and they got it, and they did it well. But I think it's totally fair that Scottie's upset about his portrayal, because he does look like a little bit of a dick.
He does, definitely. I mean, I could definitely see that, especially him, taking himself out of one of the most crucial games ever. John, what do you have to say about it?
I think they both probably have a right to be upset. And that Scottie Pippen was a little bit the documentary, it was at the end of the day, it's mostly about Michael Jordan, and when Michael Jordan had so much control over it, naturally, it's going to feel a lot like here's everything that Michael Jordan contributed and what he had to deal with to do that or whatever. So Scottie was pretty underrepresented, and I don't think that they really highlighted how crucial he was. They paid like lip service to it. They'd say like, oh, Scotty was like really underpaid for what he was bringing, and that at the time he was like one of the top 5 players in the league and all that stuff. It's just like, they had like whole massive segments focused on like when Scotty fucked up. And so I get why he's upset.
That's fair. Sam, do you think that Scottie Pippen kind of dug himself a hole in that kind of scenario? Do you think that that he has every right to be upset, or do you think it's more so that like he kind of just did this to himself?
I think it's a bit of a double-edged sword. I think like we've repeated several times, like this documentary is, as much as it was about the Bulls, when we think about the Bulls, the first thing that comes to mind is Michael Jordan, right?
Right.
It's Michael's team, regardless of what you do. Even when Michael's not there, the reason you lost is because you didn't have Michael Jordan. So I see what they kind of did to Scotty, because it's kind of interesting how they did the doc, right? Every 2 episodes, they made a villain. Like the first 2 was Jerry Cross. Maybe 3 and 4 was kind of like the Rodman Pippen discussion. Then MJ leaves, so he's the bad guy. The gambling issue, kind of stuff like that. I think Scotty did dig himself a hole when he kind of should have never answered those questions about himself, because especially about the game where he actually did quit on the team. He said that he wouldn't actually he doesn't actually regret the situation, which I get from like a superstar standpoint. But from a documentary standpoint, you're the bad guy. Like MJ's not the good guy. He's like, hey, my hands are clean now. It's on you now. So
yeah, that's true. Very true. Very, very true. So I think that's an interesting conversation to have when we're talking about the documentary in a whole, because it is in fact it's The Last Dance. It's the Michael Jordan story. He's definitely the main character, but I guess you could also kind of see this as maybe like a Bulls documentary too, because it wasn't just Michael Jordan. They were talking about, Dennis Rodman. They were talking about Tony Kukoc for a bit, for 5 minutes, talking about Scottie Pippen. Really quickly, John, Bulls documentary or Michael Jordan documentary?
It's like technically it's a Michael Jordan documentary. It started when he was drafted. That was like the origin of like the chronology of everything. That's the path they found. They weren't like covering the Bulls before Jordan. They weren't covering the Bulls after Jordan. It was all about Jordan, and it happened to be that he played for the Chicago Bulls.
Yeah, definitely. Sam, what do you think?
I think I kind of did agree, right? As much as it definitely did a good highlight of what the Bulls roster was. Even like the, quote unquote, I would call like the irrelevant guys, the bench guys, like the Will Purdue's or like the Winningtons of that roster. That's kind of cool to get their perspective. It definitely makes them look like the goody two shoes of the team, especially in terms of like the gambling situations that MJ had. But I think every topic was revolved around Michael Jordan. What's his next step? What's he going to do? Be it from his father's death, the gambling situation, how that impacts the team. In the end, it's still about MJ. And I think we have to remember that MJ gave the green light in the end. Right? This was not going to happen until MJ said. And we all know it's 2016.
That's very true. That's very true. Kevin, I think a majority of us are feeling like this is definitely the Michael Jordan documentary. I don't think there's any way around that. Do you have to agree with us?
I mean, I agree with that wholeheartedly. I mean, you heard my thoughts on Tony Kukoc, so I think he's such a big part of that team, and the fact that they didn't really show him that much and talk about his impact is kind of stupid. And they did that with a lot of people. They touched on a lot of people, but really didn't really go in depth on many, except for Michael Jordan and maybe Scottie Pippen. Even Rodman had one episode in the whole series, basically, when he is one of the big 3 on that team. Like, I don't know.
That's fair. It's very nice to look at your frozen face, Kevin. I'm not gonna lie.
Oh, wait. On my screen, I can see my little camera, and it isn't frozen at all. So I don't know.
Hey, man, I can still hear your voice. That's all that matters.
Yeah, that's true.
Well, thank you guys so much for listening to the show. The Last Dance was incredible. This documentary
Mm-hmm.
was absolutely fantastic. It's definitely what we needed to kind of get through this whole no sports during the really, really troubling time that we're living in right now. It was definitely needed. Hopefully, the NBA season comes out end of July, something like that, and hopefully we can actually watch some basketball, even without the crowds, even without all that stuff. I need sports. I need it. I really need it. Thank you guys so much for listening. Thank you, John, for joining us. It's always a pleasure to have you on the show. You guys can follow us on Instagram at the D3Pod, on Twitter at the D3Pod. And don't forget to vote for the courtroom, see who wins, John or Sam, on this week's discussion. Thank you guys so much for listening. Have a great rest of your day.